This is Barry Zalma speaking for Claim School Incorporated's blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today we're going to explain why it is dangerous for an insurance fraudster, or anyone, to ignore court orders, and why a United States District Court judge decided to order the U.S. Department of Justice to indict a serial fraudster for criminal contempt, because it's just not wise to disobey and anger a United States District Court judge. The United States District Court described defendant Alberto Marzan as a serial fraudster who has largely managed to dodge accountability for victimizing individuals in the entertainment industry. Plaintiff Micheline Josephs brought suit against Marzan and his company, Press Media Group, after Marzan fraudulently induced Josephs to issue a series of bogus investments and other payments. When Marzan failed to respond, the court entered default judgment for Josephs and awarded damages and equitable relief, including a requirement that Marzan divest from his enterprises and provide any future potential investors, employees, or business associates with copies of the court's default judgment order and his 2014 guilty plea for insurance fraud. In Josephs v. Marzan and Press Media Group, the United States District Court for the District of Minnesota on August 22, 2024, found its patience exhausted because Marzan had continued to defraud others using the same businesses and has not complied with the court's disclosure orders, all while expressing his knowledge of and disdain for the court's order. As a result, the court asked the United States Department of Justice to prosecute Marzan for criminal contempt. The court found that Marzan fraudulently induced Joseph to lend him and his business PMG more than $250,000, which he never repaid. Joseph also rented and furnished an apartment for Marzan based on his promise to repay her, including and incurring nearly $50,000 in additional expenses. Marzan's fraud was nothing new. Josephs discovered Marzan's prior convictions for insurance and investment fraud and 8 unpaid default judgments for which Marzan was responsible. Joseph sued Marzan for violations of the Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organization Act, RICO, predicated on mail and wire fraud, breach of contract, promissory estoppel, and abuse of process. The court ordered default judgment for Joseph and awarded her $800,000 in damages, interest, and attorney's fees. The court entered the injunction after considering the statutory and constitutional priority of equitable relief. The United States District Court found that Marzan had created an enterprise designed to skirt damages awards and is using the enterprise to intentionally evade recovery by the same people and entities harmed by the enterprise. The undisputed facts show that he takes advantage of the court's leniency to find a new victim. Equitable relief is appropriate when defendants take advantage of the law to shield themselves from accountability at law. Marzan continues to defraud employees and contractors from a business that the court ordered him to divest from, and without issuing the required disclosures, and he has done so while making clear that he is aware of but has no regard for the court's order. Because the court cannot let Marzan's blatant disregard for its order go unpunished, and neither compensatory nor coercive civil contempt are appropriate, the court refers this case to the United States Attorney for Criminal Contempt prosecution. Fines would likely accomplish nothing, as Marzan habitually ignores monetary judgments. It is not clear how the court could fashion a term of imprisonment in which Marzan would hold the keys to his cell. Much of the court's injunction requires Marzan to refrain from acting, and the benchmarks for compliance from prison would be fleeting at best. Instead, the court asks the United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota to prosecute Marzan for criminal contempt, thus punishing him for past noncompliance. Marzan's violations were willful and deliberate, undertaken in furtherance of additional fraudulent schemes, and demonstrate that he will not be deterred absent real consequences. The court found that Marzan knew of the court's order and the proper mechanisms to ask the court to reconsider, but decided he would instead disobey that order while denigrating the proceedings. He was not entitled to take matters into his own hands by unilaterally deciding to disregard the court's order. The court therefore requests that the United States Department of Justice prosecute defendant Alberto Jose Marzan for criminal contempt. In my opinion, Marzan's actions and disrespect and failure to obey court orders is an aggressive form of chutzpah, totally unmitigated gall. He blatantly disobeys the orders of the court, fails to appear after receiving an order to show cause, and ignores judgments rendered against him, and dissolves and disobeys orders of the court. It takes a great deal of abuse to cause a U.S. District Court judge to request the Department of Justice to prosecute a party before the court for criminal contempt. Hopefully, the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney will fulfill the court's request. Fraud should not be allowed to continue, and to ignore 8 judgments and orders to show cause from a sitting U.S. District Court judge is simply contemptible and deserves jail. This video was adapted from my blog, Zalma on Insurance, which is available free to anyone who clicks on the URL zalma.com/blog. You can subscribe to the blog and you'll receive notice of every blog posting, usually 5 or 6 a week, and you'll gain access to the more than 4,850 blog postings. You can also subscribe to the videos. They too are free. And if you do, I'd appreciate it if you click on the like button on YouTube and the thumbs up button on rumble.com. Please tell your friends and colleagues about this blog so that they too can subscribe. And if you're interested in further detail about insurance, insurance claims, insurance law, and insurance fraud, please consider subscribing for a very small fee to my Substack publication. Thank you for your attention.